for everyone as you're logging in. It's great to see you back. We're going to give everyone a few moments to get into the room here so that we can make sure we have everyone in. So great to see you logging back in again. So we'll take care of a few housekeeping items. So welcome back. You are in your 1215 session, which has been titled The Local, State, and Federal Evaluation and Data Collection Process. Just a couple of helpful housekeeping items. If you have not muted your screen, your phones, or the device that you are dialing in on, please do so now. If in the event it does happen to come off and you find yourself being unmuted, please take the time to mute. We will do our due diligence in posting the attendance link at the end of the session. In addition to that, if you could hold off on your questions until the end of the session, it makes it a whole lot easier for us to grab those questions and answer those as promptly as possible. Without further ado, you have our presenters. We have Shannon here in our room that is presenting with you, and then we also have Charlotte. So let's welcome them, and thank you for being in the session.
Thank you, Stacy, and welcome to everyone that has joined us today for the Local Evaluation Process Workshop. At the end of this workshop, I will leave some time for some questions. Feel free to ask some questions in the chat box, but I want to get through the material. Our last session ended rather quickly, so there'll be time for questions, just some questions that you may have around the local evaluation. So I wanted to jump in this morning. Oh, of course, I am Shannon Teague. One of the areas I directly oversee is the evaluation process. There are many layers to the overall process. Today, I thought it would be best to basically share with you some basic pieces of information that may make this process easy to understand and then ultimately easy for you to implement. The primary purpose of the local evaluation is to help your program continually examine your outcomes and work collaboratively with your stakeholders to provide the best opportunity for our students. It's just that simple. This session is designed to do a couple of things. First, understand the importance and sequence of a local evaluation. Review the expectations of grantees and deadlines. Understand how the state will use each program evaluation, and then how to use the data to enhance program outcomes. Now, before we jump into evaluation, there are a few things I want you to understand. First and foremost, legislation requires states to develop performance indicators and performance measures. If any of you are thinking right now, have I seen those? They are a major part of the request for application that you responded to apply for this grant. So all of our new grantees, this is a situation that happens often. Often, you aren't the person who wrote the grant. You're the person who is managing the grant. And oftentimes, you haven't had an opportunity to look and see, what did they say to even get this grant? I heard it was 300 people that applied. Out of 300, we were 30, which means you wrote really good responses to those performance measures. So look it up and see what you said you were going to do and make sure that your program aligns with that. So legislation requires that we come up with performance measures, and we have. First, the 21st Century Non-Regulatory Guidance instructs how the 21st Century Grant should operate. So the requirements that we have and what we're saying needs to happen in all programs isn't something that ODE's made up. We're literally managing this grant based on federal requirements. Next, states must require that states must require grantees, I should say, to implement programs that meet principles of effectiveness. What are principles of effectiveness? In other words, 21st century programs must be based on these things. They must be based on an assessment of objective data regarding the need for before and after school programming. That includes your summer school as well, and activities in schools and communities. Next, it must establish a set of performance measures based, I shouldn't say based, but basically aimed at ensuring high quality academic enrichment opportunities. So what are some of your enrichment opportunities? We know that 21st century primarily focuses on math and reading, but it also needs to really focus on some of those enrichment opportunities as well. And then lastly, where it's appropriate in your programs, 21st century grantees should also focus on providing scientifically based research strategies in all programming approaches. Now, we are clear that every single thing you do isn't around a strategic or scientifically based strategy. However, in working in some critical areas such as math and reading and student social and emotional needs, you should focus on a scientifically based research program. And then, and then lastly, I'm gonna go back. Lastly, assess progress. Assess progress. States, we must require that grantees implement programs that they are literally assessing their work toward achieving the goals that they said they were going to achieve. So you need to ensure you're assessing your work, looking at your outcomes, and building quality programs based on the data that you see before you about your programs. So those are basically some basic principles around principles of effectiveness and how you should be managing your grant. So earlier, I heard it on the panel, and I talked a little bit about it earlier. How do we tell our story? So how do you tell your story? Let's look at these four, let's call them dots. These four dots here. The first one, performance measures and objectives. We already discussed that there are performance measures and objectives. The performance measures and objectives that we are utilizing in 21st century are around math and reading outcomes, youth development, family engagement. That's literally what all of our outcomes are around. How you're engaging students, how you're working with students, and those outcomes, and how to get to those goals. You, in your program, do you have the right to come up with your own performance measures and your own goals on top of ours? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you might see an identified need in your programs. You've worked with your evaluation team and you're like, you know what? The state only wants that, but we want so much more. Add those and work that out with your evaluator. Now, I know that I'm preaching to the choir to some, but for many of our new grantees, here's the process of how we tell our story. The state has a state evaluation, which means we hire a state evaluator. That state evaluator will be interfacing with you, local evaluators, more than we've done in the past. The rationale behind that is we're really trying to be able to tell Ohio's story effectively. So that state evaluator conducts, they may make site visits to programs. That state evaluator may make phone calls. They're going to receive your end of the year reports. They're going to receive your logic models. Program managers, when you're working with your local evaluators, make sure that those local evaluators are familiar with deadlines and familiar that they need to be in constant contact with you so you can see that they're getting all the information they need to make a good assessment and headed in the right direction to make a good assessment about your program. It's all about communication. Next, the local evaluation. Your local evaluator is going to sit down with you and your evaluation team and create a plan. You'll develop research questions together. As the program manager, the role that you should have, honestly, I feel like you should be the ideas person. You should be the person to say, I'm dying to know if our kids are doing better in math. I'm dying to know. Think about what you want to know. What do you want to know? Possibly outside of our performance measures. Because you're going to give your local evaluator your performance measures. But what else do you want to know about your program? Those are the conversations that you're going to have in your evaluation team. That local evaluator is a part of the team. They're doing the heavy lifting, but not necessarily the leader. When I meet with my state evaluator, I'm leading those meetings. I may ask him questions. It's probably more me leading with questions. I'll be honest. It's not what I studied in college. Same with you. Put that heavy lifting on your evaluator. So then, that local evaluator will be communicating with the state evaluator. They'll be getting data from one another. That's how the system should work. What will that local evaluator in square 3 or circle 3 be getting? Let's look at circle 4. There are several other pieces that tell our data. Logic models. If you haven't been to the logic model session, logic models are due December 4th. Logic models should be designed with that evaluation team and then sent to the state for us to then send it to our local evaluator. We want to make sure that all programs are on the right track so that we can have quality outcomes at the end of the year. Surveys. Some of you stopped doing surveys because we were doing surveys. What's come up to me several times today, you want to see what those surveys say. So we're going to work on that with this evaluator coming up. It's not too late for me to add that, and I'll add that. And they'll have to add more people or more staff. It's just hard to add while contract's already going on. So at least I know that that's a major need. But interviews, surveys, all of that feed information or data for us to understand what's happening in our programs. State assessments. The federal government asked every one of our programs to upload state assessments. Grades. Your local evaluator possibly will look at grades to see, hey, this student comes 4 days a week. This student comes 1 day a week. Let's look at their grades. Oh, look at how much success you see in these students. That tells a story. And we'll talk about stories a little bit later. 21 APR and API. The 21 APR system, if any of you've already attended Tabitha and Lydia's session, the 21 APR system is the federal government's data collection system. All program managers, unless they've given that role to their evaluator too, which is not a bad idea, will be entering your data into the system. You'll receive deadlines on that soon. The local evaluation process. Now that we're aware of some basic information, let's look at the big picture and move forward into jumping into the local evaluation process. Conducting a local evaluation will help you track your program's implementation, fidelity, and success. It will also provide you with valuable information that will help you make changes to improve your program's performance. It takes a team, and I've emphasized that before. It takes an entire team to build your evaluation process. It assists in making the efforts of all your stakeholders and your local evaluator effective. Their deliverables are just this simple. You're thinking to yourself, when I write this contract or when I communicate with my evaluator, what are their deliverables to me? They have to deliver an evaluation plan, or they should. They should deliver an evaluation plan. They do have 2 deliverables to the federal government. Your logic model which they simply just complete the template, and you'll go over that template in the logic model training. It's due December 4th, 2020. End of the year report. It's due September 3rd, 2021. I'm sorry, December 13th, 2021. September 13th, 2021.
Shannon,
Yes.
the timeline says the end of the year report is due 9/3/2021.
Okay, so it's 9/3, and I said 9/13 earlier in my large group. Thank you. I'm gonna have to change that from my last group. It's September 3 and not September 13th. Did you hear that, everybody? Did you hear Shar correct me? Write it down in your notes. Shar corrected Shannon, and she is jumping in her seat. We have this ongoing rivalry. You guys work with people like that. I messed up in front of Shar. Doggone it. Ugh. All right.
Well, the reason why I pointed that out is because in the last session I was in, somebody was asking, when's the end of the year report due?
Yeah.
So they were confused about maybe it was due this year versus next year.
Yep.
But the one for this year has already been submitted.
The ones for this year's already been submitted. Thanks, Shar. You're right. And
the date was clear because and it matched what was on the timeline.
Yep. So I said it wrong, but it was correct in writing. So September 3rd is the date. Okay. So 4 easy steps in getting started: preparation, planning, implementation, and using results. We do have a local evaluation manual. To be very transparent, it needed some revamping, and our communications area has not gotten to ours yet. They have promised within the next week or 2 that we will have it. This session right here that we're moving into now is in alignment with our local evaluation manual. Okay, it gives you in depth. So especially if you're new, no worries. But let's continue to get started here. So preparation. In preparation, there are 2 simple steps to prepare. You follow these steps, you'll be good to go. Assemble a stakeholder team. Assemble a stakeholder team. Now, who's on that team? Think about it for 1 second. Who's on that team? It could be school principals. It could be teachers. It could be staff members from your 21st century program. It could be staff members that are in the school. Students. Students can be on that on your evaluation team or your stakeholder team. Representatives from the community or some of your community partners can be on that team. You want input from everyone. It only makes your outcomes richer. Also, in preparing, know to that team that, hey, here's our 2 deliverables. We're going to deliver an evaluation plan. We're going to come with a plan of what we're going to evaluate and look at in our program and focus on in our program. And we're going to have an end of the year report. Next in preparing, hire a local evaluator. You can spend up to $10,000 per grant to hire a qualified local evaluator. In our local evaluation manual, for those of you who may not have one yet or thinking, hey, you know, what exactly does this person need to have? What are their qualifications? How do I find a local evaluator? That's all in the evaluation manual. Next, planning. Planning. From the session for the logic model, now you have to plan, put together your plan of action. So you're going to have an evaluation plan, you're going to develop an evaluation plan, and you're going to develop a logic model. The evaluator and the stakeholder team should work together closely during this time to develop a practical evaluation plan resulting in the logic model. Okay? The evaluation plan is a document, basically, it's just a document or a plan, if you will, that details the data collection methods and procedures your local evaluator will be using during the evaluation. So nothing should really be a surprise. Are they going to survey kids? Are they coming in 2-3 times a day? Are they going to do some surprise visits? It's your plan. Next, implementation. Data collection. There are all sorts of data that your local evaluator can look at to say, hey, this is the type of data I'd like. They can look at perceptual data. They can look at school data. They could look at attendance data. What data is available? What's available to them? A good evaluator sort of ask you those questions. A good evaluator may ask you questions and you're like, wait, yeah, I think we do have that. They may want grades. They may need to connect with the school. But just make sure that you make it as easy as possible for that evaluator to collect the data that they need to collect. Data analysis. In data analysis, they take the data that they found and basically they basically pull that data together and begin to look at the story that it tells. And once they have the story that it tells, it ultimately turns into what your results are, what your outcomes are, and what your program looks like during the time that they looked at it. So this particular year. In using your results, your stakeholder meetings, you may have several stakeholder meetings depending on how active you and your program, your stakeholder teams are. You'll look at your results once the evaluator has given them to you. You'll look at recommendations. Those recommendations is what informs your next steps. That's how you build your program. You ever sit back and think to yourself, how does that program keep getting better? How does this particular thing keep getting better? They look at their data and they use their results to inform their next steps. When you utilize your entire stakeholder team, your entire team then is on the same page. They know what makes your program strong. They know what next steps you need to do to make it even stronger. Guess what else? They know where you're weak. You know where you're weak, and you know how to fix it. You may have some programs that may not be as meaningful as something else that you've seen out there to help with a certain outcome that you want. Okay, so it's all about sitting down, planning, knowing your plan from the very beginning, going through this entire process, and then talking about the outcomes. Some of you say, hey, we need funds. We need more money to do some of the things that we're doing, or we need more in-kind services to do what we're doing. Now, let's look at that data and communicate your results. Communicate your results to the public. You may wish to issue reports to various audiences. So you may have a forum when you release those results. You may communicate your results to parents. You may talk to staff, school staff, a stakeholder who's thinking about donating funds, donating resources. There are several methods to disseminating your results, right? You can do summary findings. You can do summary reports where you're just explaining that to whatever audience you want to explain that. But I'll tell you what, this is typically the section or the component that we forget all about. Don't look at this as a check mark. Evaluation, done, check. You'd be surprised at what you learn when you look at your outcomes and the recommendations from that evaluator. That's why it's important to hire a skilled evaluator who can look at your recommendations and say, hey, you know what, you're on the right track. Or you know what, you're a little off here. Why don't we focus more in reading here? I tried to make this process as simple as possible. You have resources when you get stuck. Let's take a look. Again, we'll be distributing the local evaluation manual provided within the next 2 weeks to all programs. It will be sent out to program managers and pushed for them to then send that copy to, it'll be an electronic copy, to their local evaluators. We have some local evaluators, we do not have them all. So we're going to update our list as soon as possible to get it from some of you. But the local evaluators we do have will receive it. You have the resource of the state evaluator when you have questions. You have the resource of your own evaluator when you have questions about what's happening in your program. And then ultimately, you always have the resource of ODE. Again, your regional consultant knows this information as well. I do oversee the program, and sometimes you may need to ask me questions directly, and I'm open to that. I'm sharing my information here. Write it down. Now, in the local evaluation training, I'm sure they share this information, but we kind of said we would all share it. In submitting your logic models, there's the new email address. For some of our returning grantees, this is new. Newsflash. AAR is not here. We had to change the email box. So all logic models will go to logicmodel@education.ohio.gov. And end of year is where all of your end of year reports will go at education.ohio.gov. Again, this was some very general information about the process, walking you through the process so that you can see how it all fits together. Do you have any questions for me? You can jump right in because I am not as savvy as I should be with Zoom and the chat box and all that good stuff.
Got you covered on the chat. Keeping an eye on it.
Okay.
No questions? Maybe they're getting ready. Have thank yous coming across.
I don't even see the chat on my thing. I'm not even gonna worry about it.
We got you covered.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Good explanation. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Karen Potter and Karen Larwin.
Okay.
Very thorough. All right. Well, if you do have any questions, Elizabeth is saying thank you, Shannon. So if you have additional questions or you just want some more information, okay, here we got one here. We'll keep the chat open. In the meantime, I am going to post the attendance link in the chat box while Shannon is answering a few of these questions that are popping up.
And I see it, Stacy. So you can go ahead and do the link. I see it. It says are the website address for the logic model and the end of the year case sensitive. That's a good. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Usually our things are not case sensitive at all. So I would definitely tell you no, Angela. Hi, Angela. Hope you're good. Okay, I have a question here. If we are holding remote programming, should we have the evaluators visit our program virtually? That's what we're doing. Why not? Thinking outside the box. I would. Some people might not have an option. You do the best you can do this year. Honestly, do the best you can do this year. And I probably should have started the workshop like that. So Stacy, that question is probably more for you. How long will the webinar recordings be available?
I will have to definitely confer with my team. I would think all the way up, what is it, October? All the way up until probably December, possibly. But I will check that and confirm that with my my boss, my supervisor, Mark, and with you all. Thanks, Liza. Thanks, Karen. Did I post the wrong one? That is possible. All this technology. We have a trusty handy dandy cheat sheet. However, if it is incorrect,
that could make you do it again.
It wasn't very handy dandy, was it? If it is wrong.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I should apologize that the workshop gave people some time back, but it's simple, and I don't want to make it hard because I want people to ease into local evaluation, enjoy it, understand it, and communicate with their local evaluator, communicate with their team. Our state's going to get good at this at some point. Ed Weber, are you shaking your head yes? Hey, what is that in the background? Ed, is that Duke? What is that? What is that?
Yeah, we're called the Wellington Dukes.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
All right. Didn't know that. You know, you can only chat with the people that you're looking at. Yeah. I don't know why Judy's always in my eyesight. Judy Varn is always there. I know, right? You remind me of Kathy Heck. Do you know Kathy Heck? Do you get that all the time?
I sure do. It's because you love me, Shannon.
Right. You guys do
always.
favor.
I know.
Yeah, you do. Tell her though you're nicer.
Oh, ooh, whoa, Shannon.
Yeah, she won't like that. That's good.
No, she won't.
Yeah, I heard that, Shannon. You're in trouble.
Hey now.
I didn't know she was
She's hiding.
hilarious.
Just don't share your lunch with Shannon. She'll eat it.
Oh my God. I'm never going to live that one down. So Judy, I was on a site visit with Kathy. I was starving. I drove up to Cleveland. I was starving. I got to see her and I had to say, I'm starving. Didn't pack. So she said, me too. Let's go to Wendy's. We went to Wendy's on our way to the school. Went to Wendy's and we're talking up a storm. I went in and got my sandwich. I'm eating my sandwich or whatever. She was like, okay, I'll take my sandwich now. I gave her her sandwich. She opened it. She was like, this is your sandwich. Her sandwich was gone. I was like, your sandwich was delicious.
Good to know.
Good memory.
She's like, Shannon, I can't eat this sandwich. I was like, oh man, I'm sorry. Your sandwich was delicious. Yeah, so did I eat the whole sandwich? I can't remember, but it was delicious. But all right.
I think we ended up trading.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a bite. Oh well.
So to those who are asking about the link, I just got message. It looks like it was programmed with Northwest. However, it is for our this session. So apologies for that, but we got it. We got you on the back end of the reporting system.
Is anybody having a hard time finding an evaluator? I got a couple calls last week. No problems, no issues. We're gonna get better at this. Better and better. Mhm. I have a question. It says, are you correcting the survey? Oh, attendance form. That's not my question.
Did I?
I think
Oh,
that's-
Peg. I answered her in the chat.
Yep,
Peg
I see it.
Range. Yep. Gotcha.
I see it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
Carla Jones Ward, she even made a comment.
I'm looking for her. I don't see her in this chat. It must have been to you.
Oh, could have been. Good.
Thanks, Emily. All right. So we did end a little bit early. Just a reminder to everyone, our next session is starting at 1:30. So don't forget to log into that. And as Shannon mentioned, if you have not already participated in the logic model session, that one is taking place at 1:30, as well as this session will be repeated, and the 21 APR API. And those are all at 1:30. So we got another question here, Shannon.
Okay.
How will we be notified? I don't know if you can see that when the evaluation manuals are ready, the blog and email to program managers.
So how will we be notified when the evaluation manuals are ready? So when the evaluation manuals are ready, they'll be sent out to all program managers and the evaluators that we have in our system. Yes, it will be posted on the blog. We're actually going to post it on our website this year too. You're welcome, Peg.